Brother Raza for the recitation of the Holy Quran. Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعاديات ضبحا فالموريات قدحا فالمغيرات صبحا فأثرن به نقعا فوسطن به جمعا إن الإنسان لربه لكنود وإنه على ذلك لشهيد وإنه لحب الخير لشديد أفلا يعلم إذا بحثر ما في القبور وحصل ما في الصدور إن ربهم بهم يومئذ لخبير صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم.
Can I now invite Brother Mehdi for the Hadith Qissa? Salawat.
صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعوذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة اغطيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فآتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله اللهم فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد طول الله فقحت الكساء اللهم صل فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء هم سلام فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي الأمة قد عزمت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء الله فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء اللهم صل فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له: وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفته وصاحب لواء، قد عزمت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. الله. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ بي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومى بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال: اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل البيت وقاستي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودموهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماعا مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال العمين جبرائيل: يا رب ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت نبوتي ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلوها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل: يا رب أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله: نعم، قد عزمت لك. فحابت الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالطاهية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماعا مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد عزينا لأن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله: وعليك السلام يا آمنة وحي الله، إنه نعم قد عزمت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لعبي: إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يا قلو، إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لعبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسين هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي: والذي بعثني بالحق نبي واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر قبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلا أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي: عذو الله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر قبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا، وفيهم محموما إلا وفرج الله همه، ولا مغموما إلا وكشف الله غمه، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي: عذو الله فزنا وسودنا وكذلك أشهتون فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم إني أسألك بحق محمد وأنت المحمود إلهي، وبحق علي وأنت الأعلى، وبحق الفاطمة وأنت الفاطر السماوات والأرض، وبحق الحسن وأنت المحسن، وبحق الحسين وأنت القدم الإحسان، وبحق الأئمة 9 الطاهرين من ذرية الحسين عليهم السلام. اللهم صل صلوات.
Jazakallah for that beautiful recitation. I would like to now request brothers Ali Mahdi and Ali Abbas to come forward for some recitation of Salat and Salam. Jazakallah. Salawat.
غرور ٹوٹ گیا کوئی مرتبہ نہ ملا، ستم کے بعد بھی کچھ حاصل جفا نہ ملا، سر حسین ملا ہے یزید کو، لیکن شکست یہ ہے کہ پھر بھی جھکا ہوا نہ ملا. صلوات. کسی بیماری نے خط اپنے مسیحا کو لکھا، حال بیماریوں پیٹی نے بابا کو لکھا، جو ارمان تھا دل میں شہ والا کو لکھا، اور سلام اپنا پھوپھی ثانی زہرا کو لکھا. دل میں خوش تھی کہ میرا خط جو پہنچ جائے گا، ہے یقین اب کوئی لینے کے لیے آئے گا. ختم القاب یہ بے کس نے کیا تھا مرکوم، چاہنے والے پدر میرے امام مظلوم. رات دن روتی پری رہتی ہوں اب تو مکموم، آپ تو بھول گئے کہہ رہے میرا مقصوم. نہ گلا تم سے ہے نہ کوئی شکایت بابا، ہم مبارک ہوں سکینہ سے محبت بابا. ہے تم کو نہ صحیح مجھ کو ہے تم سے الفت، کسی صورت مجھے دکھلاؤ تم اپنی صورت. جانتی ہوں کہ سکینہ پہ بہت ہے شفقت، اچھا اے بابا بہن کی میں کروں گی خدمت. مجھ کو بلوا کے وہاں میرا دل شاد کرو، لو کنیزی میں سکینہ کی مجھے یاد کرو. گر نہیں مجھ کو بلاتے ہو تو آؤ بابا، شوق سے اپنی سکینہ کو بلاؤ بابا. اس کے سینے پہ سلاتے ہو سلاؤ بابا، ہم کو رلواتے ہو تو خیر رلاؤ بابا. رنج سہتی ہوئی دنیا سے گزر جاؤں گی، آپ آئے نہیں ایک روز میں مر جاؤں گی. آرزو ہے کہ کسی طور یہاں آ جائیں، آپ کی جان سے دور جو ہم مر جائیں. آپ نے ہاتھ سے کفن آپ مجھے پہنائیں، اور تکلیف لحد تک بھی ذرا فرمائیں. بس زیادہ نہ سواری یہاں ٹھہرائے گا، دفن کرتے ہی مجھے آپ چلے جائے گا. تھا علمدار کو تحریر کے عباس چچا، دور استاد بھتیجی سے ہوئے تم بھی خفا. سنتے ہیں آپ کی ہر بات کو میرے بابا، مجھ کو بلوائیے یا لائیے ان کے میں فدا. چوموں گی ان کے قدم تم کو دعائیں دوں گی، ان کے بھی اور تمہارے بھی بلائیں لوں گی. کسی بیمار खत अपने मसीहा को लिखा सलावत
MashaAllah. Can we have a loud salawat for the brothers, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the Maulana Sahib is coming. He'll be here in a few minutes. So meanwhile, is there anyone else who would like to recite something while we wait? Bismillah. Another loud salawat, please.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम उम्मीद बच्चों आगे आगे तशरीफ़ ले आएँ ताकि मौलाना साहब से करीब होकर सुन सकें just step forward please just a couple of things that I wanted to reiterate I know you have all been to Majalis this is Dua Center's first effort to bring you guys in this should not be our last effort push us to do things for you we have asked Dr. Saab to be here he'll address you his topic is religion and science he'll give you the details but I would request you all, when you come into the Imam Barga, please come in by wudu, because this is a farash that we believe that our baby comes on. So just, and then you'll later you'll touch the alams. So it's best to be by wudu. With that, I would like to ask Maulana Sahib to start his speech. Brother Muhammad Ali Muhammad Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغه مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود فطر الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميادان أرض أول الدين معرفته ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خير المبشرين والمنذرين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد صل محمد وعلى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل محمد وعلى محمد. Dearest Mu'mineen, Mu'minat, my elders, my brothers, sisters, and especially the young ones. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my honor to have this opportunity to speak to you, and I am just a humble person. I don't know much, but the few things that I will be sharing over the next 9 days, inshallah, I'm hoping it will serve you for a lifetime. Some beautiful words were given by my dear brother Jamil Sahab before I started, and that was about the protocol and the procedure for coming for Ayam-e-Aza. To understand where we are sitting and to understand what our purpose is over here. And indeed, it is a beautiful thing that we are reaching out to the youth, and they have organized a program that is in English for the young ones. And absolutely we should do that, because the language of Imam Hussain and the message of Imam Hussain is universal. It is not for just one language. And indeed the languages have changed with migration. And as we look at the migration of the followers of Imam Hussain, we see they have spread from various parts in the Middle East 14 centuries ago in Arabia to the subcontinent, going through Persia. And when we entered into Persia, then in Iran the majalis were in Farsi. And for centuries that took place. And then when the migration occurred into India and what is now Pakistan, then at that time the majalis started to occur in Urdu. And for people it was very strange. Why are these majalis happening in Urdu now? They should be happening in Persian. And initially they were happening in Persian. But it became necessary to reach out and communicate with the young ones. And then after that we see now we have migrated from the subcontinent all over the world into Europe and the Americas. And now we are speaking in English. The message is the same and the universality of it is the same. The language can change, it doesn't matter. However, having said that, my young ones, I urge you to hold on to Urdu. I urge you to embrace Urdu. I urge you to be proud of it, to take it as your heritage, because it is not just a language, it is a way of life, it is a culture, it is a way of manifesting your relationships with people you know. The language of Urdu is very close to the language of Arabic. And when you can learn a language for free at home, and you don't have to take a class for it, and you don't have to do any homework, then it would seem like we are foregoing a free gift that is being put before us. All we have to do is listen to our parents speaking in that language. All we have to do is have rules in the home. You will learn English and you will speak English outside your homes, but in your home, try and make Urdu your central language. And even if you speak with an accent, it doesn't matter. Your accent will improve over time. That's not important. Because in Urdu you will find that there is care and love and compassion. There is relationships in Urdu. In English you call everybody uncle and everybody else auntie. In Urdu you have chacha and mamu and puppo and puppi, and you have your puppi's oldest son different name, and your eldest brother's wife has a different relationship and different name, and your husband's sister, and so on. Itne rishte hain ki sab yaad nahi rehte. But it is indeed a very important language. So although I am going to be speaking in English, I don't want to be one of those that enables people to forget about Urdu and understand that English will not relate to Arabic, but Urdu will. So now in the next 9 days, and the topic is science and religion. I have chosen this topic for a few reasons. And as we get into this topic, we will come to understand what is science and what is religion. You already have an idea of what is science and what is religion, but what happens is many a time when people are talking about these two topics, you don't hear science and religion. What you hear is science versus religion. Science and religion is something else. Science versus religion is something else. It becomes a fight between science versus religion. And there will be two debaters. One will debate for science, one will debate for religion. One of them will win or no one will win. And then we've caused a fight amongst two things that don't need to be fought about. Because is it really science versus religion, or is it science and religion? Now what's happened is religion is old, science is new. So one thing that happens is we think that, oh, if something is from religion, then it is very old, it is backward, it's not something we're interested in, it's something that doesn't have evidence and proof, and it's just fairy tales. And when we talk about science, we say this is evidence, this is proof, this is 100%, and all of this is authentic. And whatever science says is true, what religion says, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, we have to wait for science to prove it. This is the concept that is often given about these two topics. Now, religion has been around since when? Science has been around since when? This is the question. So religion has been around, you would say, since the time of Hazrat Adam. Since the first human being on earth, we have had deen, we have had religion. But how long has science been around? Now, science in its true form that we see now has been around for maybe, probably about 3,000 years. We can go back maybe 1,000 years BC. Before Christ. We can go back maybe 500 years. If you go back to 500 years to 1,000 years BC, you will see the Greek philosophers. And often science is taken from there. So we say that Hippocrates and Socrates, philosophers and scientists, and ones who were studying the stars and planets, and ones who started thinking with reason, with analysis, with approach. So we say, okay, now, Hazrat Adam, we're going back maybe 10 to 20,000 years, so we're saying, okay, it is that old religion. And science is maybe 2,500 to 3,000 years old. So, but is that really science that we're saying is 3,000 years old? Or is science older? And right now, it is religion versus science. This is the problem that our young ones will face. There is an epidemic of atheism growing amongst us. You should be aware of this. If you are not seeing it, then that's very good. That means you are lucky and you are blessed and you're not seeing the rampant epidemic. It is more dangerous than COVID. COVID will take lives. It will take dunya. But atheism will take dunya and akhirah. Atheism will take away the purpose of our existence. So this is one of the big fights we have now. Now, atheism isn't anything new. It has been around for centuries. Our A'immah have debated against atheists as well. However, now what atheists use is science. So now science is being used by atheism. That means atheism is an old religion. You might be thinking that atheism isn't a religion, because atheism is the nullification of religion. What does atheism mean? Well, what does theism mean? Theism is from theos, and theos means religion, and deos means God. So theism basically means no religion. It is a denial of a creator and a denial of a religion upon us. They will ridicule your beliefs. They will say, why do you believe in something that you cannot prove? Why do you believe in something that is not evident? They say there is absence of evidence. There is no evidence that Allah exists. In saying that, always remember one thing, and it is a simple rule. It is this: the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Some have understood that. Let me just explain it a little more for the young ones. Because Allah, we are saying there is no evidence. There is evidence. There is evidence. But we're going to talk about that evidence and what is evidence. Over these 9 days, I have to go through what is science, what is scientific reasoning, then what is religion and religious reasoning. How do we reason? What is knowledge? How do we gain knowledge? And how do we justify true belief? All of these questions need to be answered over the next 9 days, inshallah. And I'm not sure what you were thinking when you came in and what we were going to talk about, or maybe you're used to hearing me talking about other things if you have heard me before. So this is a little bit of a different style from the regular majalis, I know, but I think that it is something that needs to be imparted to the young ones, because they will be going off into the world and school and college and university, and they will be facing a whole new world of information. And our parents and our grandparents have not had the challenge that is present now. In every city that I have been to, I have seen some parents worried about their children going away from religion, not believing in God. I have seen in every city that I've been to parents who have told me that we have brought our children to the Farsh-e-Azha since they were children, and we have tried to impart in them the knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt, and we have brought them here, but and we took them to Sunday school every day. They grew up like this throughout, but when they were 18, we suddenly found out that now they don't believe in Allah anymore. And then they tell me, can you please convince them that Allah exists? So at the age of 18, a lot of our mind is already made up. It means that we have to talk about these things with them when they are younger, when they are starting to learn to think. How you think is very important. And understand that every teacher who comes across to your child will teach you how to think. And you should learn that who teaches you how to think is going to be the primary determinant of your future. And do you want to learn how to think from your parents? Or do you want to learn how to think from your teacher? Sometimes it will seem, oh, my parents they don't know the answers, they don't understand me, they always say that same old stuff, they're not aware of the new generation, and they just don't get me, but my teacher does. That might not actually be true. It might seem that way. And is it necessary that everybody who's imparting you knowledge is imparting you correct knowledge? No. In the age of misinformation, many people will teach you things that will be wrong. You have to come back and assert it from your parents. Remember that your relationship with your parents is through your relationship with Allah. That means that when Allah sent you to the world, He sent you with love and care. That love and care was not through your teachers. He decided it through your parents. Teachers are very, very important. I'm not saying that. I myself teach in college. I would not denounce my own profession. But let me tell you, your teachers were not designated by Allah, but your parents were. That means when Allah wants to love you, He loves you through your parents. When your mother hugs you, know that it is Allah who has put that love inside of her. When your father is giving you advice that is better for you, know that it is Allah that put that love inside of your father. He did not put that love inside of everybody else around you, all the other influences. He did not put that love for you and put that in your friends. So your friends will give you advice and their way of thinking, but it won't be through the love and mercy of Allah. Your friends may think that what they're doing is right, but it may not be the right thing for you. Who knows best what is right for you? You have your friends, you have social media. Your children have incredible amounts of influence these days. All the friends around them, all the social media around them, then the family and the parents and the Imam Barga and the community, and the schools and the children at school, and the teachers at school. And with all this information bombarding them, they have to filter through all of this. And some of it will conflict. We will learn things in school about what is right and wrong, and then we will come home and maybe be told, no, beta, that is not what our religion teaches us. Allah has taught us something different from what is being taught to you about that thing. Yes, the mathematics in school is correct. Yes, the science is correct. But maybe the social and ethical principles that are being taught are not correct. How do we decide what is correct? It is very simple. The first thing you have to decide is, do you exist? Do you exist? You ask yourself this question, hey, do I really exist? Now, Greek philosophers summarized it very simply. They said, I think, therefore I am. Which means, because I can ask the question, do I exist? That means that I do exist. If I didn't ask this question, maybe I didn't exist. But because I can ask a question, I must exist in order to ask a question. You can't ask a question if you don't exist, right? And the other way you would say you existed, you say, I know I exist. You will say, Shaeba, I know I exist. How do you know you exist? Well, I woke up in the morning and I had cereal and I got dressed and I came over here and I'm sitting here. So of course I exist. Fair enough. There is some form of existence that is you. The next question to ask yourself, once you've decided, okay, I exist. How did I decide that? Because I thought about it. Okay, so you are in existence and you think. So if you think, that means you must have intellect. So I have aql. So now I'm someone with aql, I have intellect, and I can think, and now I can think about more questions. Now the next question is, why am I here? And how am I here? Now, religion will give you a different answer. Science will give you a different answer. When you ask the question, how am I here? Religion will tell you that you were created. How were you created? You were created because Allah created Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. And He put all of the offspring of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam into the genetics of Hazrat Adam. And then through those genetics, we see children being born generation after generation. So religion says you exist because there is somebody named Adam and he is your forefather. So you exist. But what will science say? Science will say that you exist because one day there was some ocean and some atoms and elements came together to make carbon. When carbon was made, then hydrogen and oxygen was attached to it. When this happened, then it slowly came together and became a big molecule. And then you had the first biomolecule. And then the biomolecules came together and the first cell was born. When the first cell was made, how did it happen? It happened purely accidentally. They will tell you it happened accidentally, and then they will mathematically calculate it, and they will tell you the chances were 1 out of 100 billion googillion, some crazy number, some number with so many zeros that you can't even imagine it happening. If you look at what are the chances of life, just Google that. Hopefully not right now, but later on. And when you Google it, you'll get a big number that I don't remember, because after 100 zeros, my mind is gone now. Now I don't care. This is just some incredible chance. But then what they will tell you is, yes, but it took billions of years. That's why. So religion is telling you that Hazrat Adam was created very quickly by Allah. Science is telling you that you came together randomly by randomness in billions of years. That means it was luck. Religion will tell you you are born because there was someone, some entity with intellect, aql, knowledge, ilm, hilm, and Allah is that entity and He created you. And what will science tell you? Science will tell you that, well, it was luck. It was random chance. So now you have two religions. You have the religion of Allah. There is one religion in which the God is Allah. There is another religion in which the God is luck. The God is chance. Now you might say that, no, that's not really true. They're not saying chance is a God. Okay, they're not saying the word God, but they're saying you were created by chance. We are saying you were created by Allah. Can they prove chance? So prove to me that luck exists. Now you will note nowadays the main theory is multiverse. Have you heard the multiverse theory? Now it is being propagated. Your children are being brainwashed through many avenues, and one of them is Disney. Disney is a great brainwasher. So if you are being entertained by it, do not take it as the truth. Do not take it as actual facts. It is simply stories, and not even truths, based on someone's imagination. But the Anbiya don't bring you what is based on imagination. They bring you what is ultimately true. So the question is, you will say, why do they talk about multiverses now? The reason is physicists who are trying to disprove the existence of a creator have to prove the existence of multiverse. Because once they calculated what are the chances of a Big Bang creating planets, and planets having life, and that life on that planet existing, it was such a small, unlikely number, they said we need to have billions of multiverses so we can say that there's billions of multiverses, none of them got life and creation, they're all chaos. 1 out of a chance of a Googleillion number, whatever that number is with the 1,000 zeros, 1 out of that, one universe happens to have it. And in that one universe, your planet happens to have it. So now your planet has this. Of course, we like to watch stories in which there's aliens coming from other planets, and we like to think there's living organisms on every planet. We're trying to find living organisms on Mars. We have this strange discrepancy where in science we like to use logic, but then we also want to use random and luck as well.
So how do these two things work together? We want to say that Mars was created accidentally by a big bang that happened randomly, by luck. But when we send explorers on Mars a few years ago, and we see that there is a bed that looks like maybe there used to be a river here, because there is a long ditch like you have in a river. They're saying, wait a minute, look at that long line in there. This means that at one time there was water on Mars. But you are saying there was water on Mars because you are seeing the cause of it. So why don't you say maybe that ditch is there by random luck? Why are you now proving there is water on Mars? You're saying, well, because there's a riverbed. If a river dries, then this is what it looks like. Yeah, but it could have been just random. Maybe that's when the planet accidentally was made, then maybe it accidentally made a riverbed as well. But no, you want to pick and choose. So the whole planet is created randomly, but any little line, nook and cranny and mountain and volcano, those are going to be by chance. So your existence is random. You were one cell, you became multicellular, then you became a salmon or a frog or something, then you became a monkey, I don't know, a rhinoceros, a dinosaur, a hippo, whatever the new lineage is for you. Our lineage, alhamdulillah, is known. We know where we came from. We know we are coming from Hazrat Ismail and then Hazrat Ibrahim and going back to Hazrat Shis and Hazrat Sam and Hazrat Nuh and Hazrat Adam. You can trace the lineage of your prophet all the way up. There's no frog in there, there's no monkey in there, and what's happening is that we are trying, why? Why are we using random when we want to and logic when we want to? What is this? Is this not hypocrisy? So allow me to say, this is a religion. Why is it a religion? It is based on a belief. What is my belief? That Allah is the creator. What is this belief over here? This belief over here is that although you are random and you accidentally came into the world, you actually have intellect and logic. So somehow randomness created purpose. This is another theory that physics needs to prove. So physicists right now are trying to prove that chaos can lead to order. They're saying that nothing can lead to something, because the main arguments that physicists are not able to prove right now, one is how random this is and what the chances are. We must have multiverse. The second thing is, how does something be created from nothing? There's nothing and now there's something. The reason? Because they know there was a Big Bang. This they have proven. They know that at one point something started to exist. And if it had a beginning, that means there was a time when it didn't exist. So they know that. But then how do we prove that without Allah, things can go from nothing into something? This is the second thing that physics wants to prove. And the third thing that they want to prove is that randomness and luck actually is a thing. Now, let me ask you this. Prove to me that luck exists. I would like you to do this experiment today. I want you to think about it. I want you to come back. When I came up with the topic, I wasn't sure when I was thinking about the topic what the age group I would have over here. And yes, I had talked to Jamil Saab, and he told me there would be youngsters and elders. And when I said science and religion, I realized this is a heavy topic. And this is philosophical, and this is not going to be easy. But I'm so grateful that these little ones are still listening. I have most of their attentions, and that indeed is a blessing, because that's the hardest thing nowadays, is to get the attention of these young ones. So thank you. I will try and tone it down a bit and make it a little easier, but the topic I have chosen is science and religion, so let's see how it goes, inshallah. We still have some time, but luck. Tell me this. Does luck really exist? How do you see luck in your life? Did you end up here by luck, randomly? Is there anything in your life that has been lucky or unlucky? Can you say in your life, oh, I was so lucky that day. Oh, I was so unlucky that day. Let me ask you this. Would Allah create luck? Allah, if He exists, and we believe he does, would he create luck? What would be the purpose of this luck? Well, you will say, yes, of course. Look, I roll a dice. A dice is a cube with 6 sides, and I play Ludo. And when I play Ludo, if you don't know what that game is, that was a game when we didn't have Nintendo, and we didn't have PlayStation and Xbox. That was a simple time in our lives when we used to just move this little character around the board and bring it back home, and then we were so happy. And if we did the beating of another person, then the beating was the best part, where we get to send you back home. A very simple game. Nowadays you guys have very complicated games. You hold guns, you shoot things, you run through obstacles, you race cars. We didn't do any of that. We just grew up where you would, if you didn't have anything, you took a stick, and you took a ball of socks and made that a ball, the stick became a bat, and you played cricket in your room. So it was a time of creation and imagination. So in that time, we learned how to be grateful for what we have. We learned how to use what we have as our resources. And when you have less resources, then you have more imagination. And nowadays, your imaginations are going to be stolen from you. Your attention span will be stolen from you. Do you know what imagination is? Do you know what attention span is? These are the very 2 powerful abilities of your mind. They are what allowed people to go to the moon. They are what allowed people to come up with the smallpox vaccine, to invent the car and electricity. Imagination. And you know what imagination is? My young ones, do you like to read? How much do you read? How much of your day do you spend reading? And how much of your day do you spend seeing? Seeing with your eye. How much of the time is spent on video? And how much of the time is spent in reading? Did you know that in your mind there is a screen, like the screen of your tablet and iPad? There is a screen in your mind. In anatomy, they give it a special name, and they call it Wernicke's area. W-E-R-N-I-C-K-E. Wernicke. That's somebody's name. So they named it after somebody who discovered it. You know how important this area is? This area leads you to Allah. This area leads you to the marifat of the vilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And you need to make this area powerful. You know how you make it powerful? You make it powerful by reading and listening, not by seeing video. Whenever your parents tell you a story, do your parents tell you stories? Sometimes they don't have time. Well, if they don't have time, they will make time, inshallah. Even a 5-minute story for your children. When you are telling a story to your child, and tell them the Qasas al-Anbiya, tell them about what the A'immah have done. Tell them those stories, not the ridiculous stories, not the stories about, Jack and Jill went up the hill, and then they fell down, and then Jack broke his head, and then Jill came after, and then I think she had to bury her brother. Her brother spent his life in rehab. It's a terrible, depressing story. That's not something, why would you want to tell your kids that? Jack and Jill went up the hill and then came tumbling down, and they broke his crown. Why would you want to tell them Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall and broke himself, cracked open, and then he passed away because no one could fix him, and all the horse came and they trampled him? That's not a good story. Ringa Ringa Rosies. This is not a good story, a pocket full of posies. Do you know that nursery rhyme is about the Black Death? Do you know Ringa Ringa Rosies, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down, is about the Black Death. You know what the Black Death is? It was the plague before COVID in the Middle Ages in 1100 and 1200 AD in Europe. And you know what Ringa Ringa, I'm giving this as an example. My topic is not nursery rhymes, but I want you to understand what is influencing our children and what we are giving them and what we think is very good, because it's in a foreign language. Maybe in our language it's not as advanced, and this is advanced. Ringa Ringa Rosie, you know what Rosie is? Rose was the rash that would occur from the bubonic plague. A pocket full of posy. You know what posy is? You can Google this. You will find it even on Wikipedia. Posy was this herb that smelled good that they put into the pocket of the one who had the sickness because their sores and skin would have such bad odor. A tissue, that means now we're crying. We all fall down. We all have to end in this world. These stories, most of these, look at what your children are learning and what the lesson is. And just because it's in English doesn't mean it's good. In fact, there's a higher chance that it's probably some absurd story. Do you see what I'm saying? How over centuries we have taught these nursery rhymes generation after generation, but they have no purpose, no sense, and no logic. And then you have the qasas of Anbiya. You have the story of Hazrat Yusuf. You have the story of Hazrat Nuh. You have the story of Hazrat Ibrahim. You have the story of Hazrat Ismail. You have the stories of Amirul Mu'mineen and of the A'immah. These are truths and realities. This is what we need to impart to our young ones. So I ask you this, does luck exist? Do you really believe in luck? Are you going to say after today that I am lucky and I am unlucky, or this is random? Let me ask you, if somebody throws a dice and they say, oh look, it was a 3, then they throw the dice again, oh look, it was a 2, look, this is luck. Or somebody says, oh, this person played the lotto, where they go, and the lottery is also this weird depressing world where everybody is wasting their money on a dream. And one person is going to live the dream and 1 million people are not going to live the dream, or 35 million people are not going to live the dream. We all dream, we let one person dream, we give all the money to this one person, you go and dream, and now we're just going to wait until our chance, which probably will never come, and then we'll pass away from this world. It's this strange, depressing existence. Jhoote khwaab bechte hain log is duniya mein. And the lottery is the greatest example of that. But you say, well, look at the Lotto Max, it has 1 in a billion chance. That is chance. But is it really chance? Yes, it is. Look, Shaeba, I toss this coin in the air and I say, heads or tails? And look, it's heads. Now look, it's tails. Now look, it's tails again. This is random. But is it really random? Is it? If we can prove that tossing a coin is not random, will you then believe that luck doesn't exist? Because if you hold a coin and you have knowledge of the weight of the coin, you have knowledge of how much force you will flip the coin with, you are aware of the resistance and the coefficient factors of resistance of the air, you know how many revolutions it will take as it reaches its peak. You know the acceleration as gravity pulls it down. You know how many revolutions it will take as it comes back down. Could you calculate if it will fall as heads or tails? Yes, thank you. Yes, you could calculate that. So what is causing it to be random luck? Lack of knowledge. I don't know the weight of this. I don't know how many newtons of force I will use with my muscles. I don't know how many times it's going to turn in the air, but there is knowledge. What about, have you heard of casinos? Casinos is another place where random luck is promoted, and people go after retirement to waste away their elderly age, where maybe we should be thinking more about worshiping Allah and getting closer and getting ready. Now we are just spending all this money on jackpots and machines and these things. Another depressing existence, I would say. Alhamdulillah that we are saved from this foolishness by making gambling haram. But in the casino, did you know that there are people who are banned from going to these casinos? Why? Because they are called the ones who count cards. Their mind and their memory is such that when cards are being played on a gambling table, they can count and remember every card. Then they know how many cards are in the dealer's hand, and then they always win. And they're not allowed to play. So luck doesn't exist, but it is simply a lack of our knowledge. When we lack knowledge, then we think luck exists. Everything that happens in your life happens for a reason. You are going down the street in your car, suddenly somebody cuts you off and you end up now, oh, I was unlucky in this accident. No, everything is happening for a reason. It didn't say, وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Allah is qadir over everything except for luck. Except for this luck is now random. Know that in the universe that Allah has created, there's no such thing as random, and there's no such thing as luck. So if you exist, my young ones, let me ask you this. Why do you exist? Why do you think you are here? Do you think you were made accidentally? Do you think you were made for no reason? Do you think there's a purpose to your existence? And if there is a purpose to your existence, then what is that purpose? And is that purpose to graduate from school and college and university and get a job and get married and have kids? Probably not, right? Those are all effects of our life and things we have to do. Those are all duties and responsibilities. But what is your purpose? Do you know that the deepest question people like to ask is, why am I here? Why am I here? Oh, what is the purpose of this life? What am I doing here? And who has the answer to that? Who has the answer to that? Does science have the answer to that? I haven't talked about religion and science yet. What is religion and what is science? We'll get into that. Today, a little bit of introductory topics. However, do you know why Allah created the universe? You can answer that. People will ask why. Why did Allah create this universe? And He said, He told you why. He said, I was a treasure hidden, and I want it to be known. So I created what I created. That means He created this universe so you would know Him. But what does it mean to know Him? Does it mean like you know me now? Hi, my name is Shaeba. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Shaeba. Now you know me. Is that what knowing Allah is? That we know there's an Allah? No, it's not. Knowing Allah is a whole journey in your life. Okay, so what is going to happen if you know Allah? Okay, Allah created me to know Him. Now I know Him. Now what? Is that it? Did He just want to be known? And now that I know Him, now it's over? Now there's no other purpose? Does He need to really be known? Does He need fame? Does He create all of these beings so that He will be known? No. That means through knowing Him, you will come to realize the purpose of your existence. That means through knowing Him, you will come to realize why you are here. The journey of why you are here will not end here. It begins here. You will realize in the next world. Do you know that people in this world spend their whole life trying to build a home? We spend our whole lives trying to build a home. When we are young, do you know, we like to imagine things and look at other universes. And our imagination is getting weaker. I was just saying that in your mind is a screen, and on that screen is everything as a picture, what you see and what you hear. How many of you have maybe read something and then saw a video about it? Like maybe you read something about biology and then on YouTube you saw a video about it. Some people read a book and then maybe watch a movie about it. Some people will read and then what will they say afterwards when they watch the movie and the video? They'll often say, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't as good as the book. It was not as good as the book. If you can say that, that means the inner screen in your mind is not HD, 3D, 4D, 5D, whatever D is next thing they're going to put you into the screen, right? Right now it looks like the screen is coming at you, then it's going to look like you're in there, and then I don't know what is going to come after that. But that screen in your brain, nothing can compete with it on a tablet, on a big screen. HD, 3D, why? Because your imagination is the most powerful entity, and Allah has given you this as a gift. And do you know how you build it? You build it when you hear words and your parents tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a little boy. He was going through a forest. Not some story about a girl in a red hood that gets eaten by a wolf. No, not that kind of story. Not the story about Hansel and Gretel who get cooked by a witch. But I mean meaningful stories, stories that have a lesson, stories that have intelligence in them. When you read those stories and when your parents are telling you the story, you are imagining it. That is your screen, your inner screen. When you read a book, even if it's some story, fantasy story, even if it's not a useful book, at least by reading a storybook, you are building your imagination. Because whenever you read words and they get translated into a picture in your mind, this is your imagination. Do you know how the imagination gets destroyed? By video. Because when you watch a video, you don't need to use your imagination. You're not using the faculty. It is only when you translate the spoken word in a story, the written word in a book, that you are using this area. So don't lose it. Read every day. Whatever you read, even if it's a story. Right now it might be a story and that story might be a waste of time. Eventually you will read history. You will read a hadith. You will read riwayat. You will read the tafsir of Quran. You will read useful things. But read every day. Very, very important. And parents, read to your children, even if it's for 5 minutes. And tell them stories. And tell your younger siblings stories, because this is how you will avoid the video. And the video is okay to watch sometimes. It should not be your primary avenue of information. So you have to always build that faculty of imagination. The other thing that we have to worry about is attention span. Do you know what attention span is? Attention span is when you pay attention. You know how sometimes somebody boring like me is talking and after 5 minutes you don't want to pay attention anymore? Oh, and then you start thinking about something else. Oh, when I go home, I'm going to do this. Oh, I was watching that cartoon. Oh, that game was so much fun. You know when somebody's speaking but you can't focus on them after a few minutes? That is when we lose our attention span. You know how some of you have been looking at me for the last 35, 40, 45 minutes? You've been looking at me non-stop, listening to every word. That is a power. That is a very powerful attention span. And this attention span that you have is your amazing ability. 2 abilities you must always hold on to. You want abilities, you want to be strong. You want to be fast. Absolutely you want that. But know that these abilities are more important than strong and fast. Because these abilities will stay with you forever. When you are old like me, you won't be as strong as you were. You won't be as fast as you were. But your imagination and your attention span are 2 gifts from Allah, 2 blessings from Allah. So hold on to them. And did you know that what this world will promise you? What will this world promise you? When you run after this world, it'll give you a home. It'll give you a little piece of land, maybe with a backyard, if you're lucky, with some grass in it. And you will run around in it. Your kids will run around in it. And yes, you will have a few bedrooms and a home on a piece of land. And then maybe if you're luckier, you'll have a car, or maybe 2 cars, or maybe 3 cars. And then if you're ridiculously rich, you might have a few 100 cars. And you might have a few homes. And you might have your own island. The ultimate rich person in this world, what do they do at the end of it? They get their own island. Now I have my home on my island, I helicopter over there, and I park my helicopter, I go in. This is what the celebrities and the sports people and the elites of this world that are glamorized to us, this is what they have for us. At our age, you know what they can promise us? At your age, they can promise you a video game in which you are fighting things and going through space and flying around. Did you know that Allah has already promised you all of this and more? Did you know that Allah hasn't promised you 1 piece of land in heaven? He has said that I will give you a whole world. You could have your own planet. Your own planet. Right now, 7 billion people fighting for 1 planet. And all 7 billion of us, we want our little piece of land. At the end, all we get is a 6x4. That's all we get at the end, a little 6x4 land. And some of us who are not 6 feet, we don't even need a 6x4. We get a smaller lot than that. Allah is saying, I will give you a whole planet with its own mountains and lakes and rivers, and do whatever you want. Do you want to fly? Hazrat Jafar Tayyar is already flying in heaven. So that's nothing that we can't achieve. You want superpowers? He's already promised you that. Do you think that the next world is just about living next to a river and eating apples and drinking honey and waiting and living under the shade? Oh, now I want a cupcake. Now I want a donut. Now I want a jelly bean. Now I want a jolly bean. Now I want a tikka. Do you think this is what it's all about? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who can create this world and say this world is nothing. Do you think the next world will be only that? No. The next world is where your life begins. That's where the adventure begins. It is not the end. It is the beginning. That is where you have worlds. That is where you have abilities. That is where you will explore. Do you think it will be over? No. Who knows what your duties will be at that time? You could be assigned different duties. You may be assigned to go to a world and spread and give a message. You may be assigned to go and help somebody. It's not just we have not been given the truth because we cannot imagine what heaven will truly be like. You can't imagine it, but I can promise you this, that whatever this world tries to give you, there you'll have 1 billion times more. You like video games? There's nothing in a video game that Allah cannot give you in heaven. Nothing. And it won't be 3D. It won't be sitting there with a controller like this, just making my thumbs hurt now. It will be you. It will be you. But what do we have to do to get there? We have to know Him first. Know Him because He created you so that you would know Him. And He made it easy for you to know Him. How? He said, here, I am giving you the 14 Masumeen. Through these 14 Masumeen, you will know me. That means know who Mustafa is. Know who Murtaza is. Know who your Imams are. Know who Bibi Sayyida is. And when you come to know them, they are the ones who will give you worlds. Not one little plot, बस हमें 1000 गज का मकान मिल जाए हम खुश हैं अल्लाह तो कायनात दे रहा है. Allah is willing to give you so much more than that. Do you see how valuable you are? Do you see how He's waiting for you there with so much to give you? But He's saying just go through this little world and pass through it the way that He wants you to by knowing Him. That is why we want to know who is Amir al-Mu'mineen, so we can know Allah. Who is the holiest messenger, so we can know Allah. And we will know them through religion and through science. Science should not be such that it prevents you from knowing Imam Ali. Science should be such that it helps you to understand him more. Science should bring you closer to Allah, not take you further away. So these are the important things that inshallah I'll be talking about. Today was a little bit of an introduction. I apologize if I made some of you yawn a little bit, but I have a audience now, so from tomorrow we'll continue, and we still have, inshallah, another 8 days. I have to talk about what is science. How do you know what you know? And do you really know what you know? But one lesson we learned today is this. What is the lesson from today? Anybody? There is no luck. Right? There is no such thing as Subhanallah, Subhanallah. In the world of Allah Azza wa Jal, there is no such thing as random. Everything has purpose, everything has intent, everything has creation. And that is why we see in the plains of Karbala, why did Imam Hussain go to Karbala? Why did he sacrifice himself and his family? Because they told him that if you do not pledge allegiance to us, then we will martyr you. And Imam Hussain said, I am the Hujjat of Allah. I am the Imam. I am the one who represents Allah. I cannot do allegiance to anybody. People must do allegiance to me. For if I do allegiance to Yazid, that is like Allah doing allegiance to Yazid. And if that happens, then forever the religion will be lost. Truth will be lost. And the young ones of today would not know the difference between truth and falsehood. So in order to save the religion and all of humanity, in order to defend the vilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Hussain comes into the plains of Karbala. Did you know that once upon a time there was a man who was a king, and this king was hunting, and when he was hunting he got separated from his group, his soldiers, his cook, his caretakers, all those people, and he was alone, wandering through the jungle. He became sick, hungry, thirsty. Many days passed. He got to the point where he was now passing out, and he thought, I will die any moment now. It was then that an old lady who lived in that jungle found him. And when she found him, she didn't know who he was, but she felt sympathy for this man who was near death. And she tried to drag him to her home. And when she got him to her home, she put him on her bed. She lived all alone in a little home. And she took care of herself by feeding, getting vegetables from a little garden, and she had a little goat. And when she ate those vegetables, and she would take milk from the goat, that was her sustenance. But the man she saw was dying and needed more nutrition. She realized that if I don't sacrifice my goat and feed the meat to this man will die. So she took her only means of livelihood. And just for the sake of this man's life, she sacrificed the goat. She fed the man. After 2 weeks, the man came back with health. When the man came back to full health, he told her that I am the king of this land. And she said, "Oh, your majesty, I did not know." And he said, "Yes." He said, "You have done a great favor upon me." And he said that I am going to go back now to my kingdom, but I want you to visit me so I can give you a gift. And she said, "Okay, I will come." She no longer had any means to eat anymore and drink milk. So she said, "I will come." It is said that when she went to the king, she was dressed in this garb and nobody wanted to let her into the palace because of her clothing, and she didn't look like she's someone who should visit the king. Finally, she gets to meet the king. And the king looks at her and says to his ministers, he says, "Look, ministers, this is the woman who sacrificed her goat for me, and because of her I am alive. I want to gift her. What should I give her?" One minister said, "Give her 1,000 gold coins." One minister said, "Give her 1,000 sheep and goat because she sacrificed her goat." One minister said, "Give her a piece of land." The wisest minister hadn't spoken yet. The king said, "What should I give her?" The wise minister said, "O king, do you not see that she sacrificed everything she had for you? And she did not know who you were, but just because you were a human being. The only justice you can do is if you sacrifice everything you have for this person." The king said, "You are right." And the king gave this lady his whole kingdom. His whole kingdom. Why do we tell this story? Because there's also an Imam who comes into Karbala, who for the sake of Allah gives everything he has. Every single thing. Why do we say Hussain is our Shafi? Because on the day of judgment, if Allah says, "Oh Hussain, you gave everything you had for me. Now everything I have is yours." This is only justice. That is why Hussain is the Shafi of the world, of the universe. When Hussain sacrificed everything for Allah, Allah gave everything to Hussain. And that is why we say, "Oh Hussain, you sacrificed everything in Karbala. We will sacrifice everything for you." When it comes to Ayam Azza, we will not miss one majlis. Anytime your name is taken, we will be there. We will not care for our rest, for our sleep, for our hunger, for our thirst, for our sickness and health. We will not care for our family. We will give everything for you, O Hussain. Because when you sacrificed, you left nothing. You left Medina with all that you had. You left Medina with your brothers and sisters. You left Medina with all of your children except for the one that was too sick to travel. You left Medina with all of your brothers except for the one that was too sick to travel. And when you went there, you never for once stopped sacrificing for the sake of Allah. You sacrificed even the little ones. And yes, they were martyred. And yes, those people, do you know who you should learn from? You should learn from Sakina bint al-Hussain. Sakina bint al-Hussain is the princess of Hussain. And she is the one, do you know, that her whole life she slept upon the blessed chest of her father. She would sleep upon the blessed chest of her father, but when she saw her father leaving, she came to her father and she said, "Oh father, Sakina ko neend nahi aati baba, jab tak ke aapke seene pe na so jaye Sakina." شاید حسین نے بھی سوچا ہو کہ آج کے بعد سکینہ کو یہ سینہ اب کہاں ملے گا. اب سکینہ کے لیے دشت بلا ہے، ٹھنڈا زندان ہے. ہاں، کبھی دھوپ ہے تو کبھی کھلے آسمان ہے. رات کے وقت وہ سکینہ جو لوح محفوظ پہ سویا کرتی تھی، حسین کا سینہ تو لوح محفوظ ہے. اب وہ اپنے بابا سے کہہ رہی ہے، بابا ایک بار مجھے اور اپنے سینے پہ سلا لی دیجئے. لیکن بابا سلانے سے پہلے آپ نے ہر یتیمہ کو، مجھے پتہ ہے کہ اب میری بھی یتیمی کا وقت آ گیا ہے بابا آپ نے ہر یتیمہ کو گوشوارے ضرور پہنائے تھے، بندے ضرور پہنائے تھے. بابا مجھے بھی بندے پہنا دیجئے. سلام ہے اس حسین پر کہ جو جانتے تھے کیا ہوگا آگے ان گوشواروں کے ساتھ، لیکن بیٹی کا دل بھی نہیں توڑ سکتے تھے. اس وقت حسین نے گوشوارے پہنائے، سکینہ یہ لو. اور اس کے بعد سکینہ نے سکینہ کو اپنے سینے پہ لٹایا، اور سینے پہ جب لٹا دیا تو اس کے بعد سلایا. جب سکینہ سو گئی تو حسین اٹھے، گئے آقا زادی بنت علی کے پاس اور کہا، اے زینب یہ امانت تمہارے حوالے کر رہا ہوں میں، تم ضرور اس بچی کا خیال رکھنا. سکینہ کی آنکھوں میں آنسو نہ آنے پائے. ارے اس امانت کو زینب نے تو لے لیا تھا، لیکن عزاداروں ایک وقت آیا تھا جب یہ قافلہ شام سے واپس آ رہا تھا. شام سے جب واپس آ رہا تھا تو اس وقت زینب نے اپنے بھائی کی قبر پہ کہا تھا، بھیا زینب آئی ہے لیکن افسوس ہے کہ تنہا آئی ہے اور زندہ آئی ہے. بھیا جو آپ نے امانت میرے حوالے کی تھی وہ میں شام کے زندان کے حوالے کر کے آ گئی. فَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ أَلَا لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. ماتم حسین.
Brother Mehdi, please. Salawat.
حسین ابتدائے ازا ہے واویلا، ابتدائے ازا ہے واویلا، ماہ غم رونا ہل رہی ہے زری زہرا کی، ہل رہی ہے زری زہرا کی، ہائے ماہ ازا ہے واویلا، ہائے ماہ ازا ہے واویلا. اس مہینے ملال زہرا کا، اس مہینے ملال زہرا کا، ذبح پیاسا ہوا ہے واویلا، ذبح پیاسا ہوا ہے واویلا. اس مہینے میں فاطمہ کا گھر، اس مہینے میں فاطمہ کا گھر، خاک میں مل گیا ہے واویلا، خاک میں مل گیا شبر کا ٹکڑے صحرا ہوا ہے واویلا ٹکڑے صحرا ہوا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں نوجواں اکبر اس مہینے میں نوجواں اکبر ہائے مارا گیا ہے واویلا ہائے مارا گیا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں چاند زہرا کا اس مہینے میں چاند زہرا کا خاک میں مل گیا ہے واویلا خاک میں مل گیا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں تیر سے رن میں اس مہینے میں تیر سے رن میں حلقے اصغر چھدا ہے واویلا حلقے اصغر چھدا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں دست آدم میں اس مہینے میں دست آدم میں چادر فاطمہ ہے واویلا چادر فاطمہ ہے واویلا ابتدائے ازا ہے واویلا حسین السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا ابن علي أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء السلام عليك يا ابن الحسن المجتبى السلام عليك حسين الشهيد السلام عليك إمام زين العابدين ومحمد الباقر وجعفر الصادق وموسى الكاظم وعلي الرضا ومحمد تقي وعلي النقي والحسن العسكري السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان الأمان من فتنة الزمان أجل الله تعالى مخرجا وزحورا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم